the tragic Malaysian Airlines flight disappeared into oblivion without a trace, it left many people feeling in limbo. Where have they gone? What actually happened? And whilst we all need closure on this topic to understand what happened, even though deep down we know what the truth really is, why do we need to ask questions? This is what today's topic is about: closure. We crave closure many times, whether it's in the case of a loved one dying, asking the question why, or why a relationship has ended, who are our biological parents, for example. Is asking these questions, is closure in this way always a good thing? Or could it damage you more by knowing the truth? This is what we're going to be talking about today with our resident life coach, Sammie, and Mary Jo, our guest presenter. But before we do that, we need to go to do some makeup. We've got our fabulous ladies over there. Hello. Hi. I'm going to do makeup and hair tips. Let me come over to you. Hi ladies, how are you doing today?
Very well, thank you.
Fabulous. So who are you and what will you be doing?
Okay, my name's Laura. I've been studying makeup for about 3 years now, and I'm going to give you a little lesson on colour theory today. And also explain the importance of a good primer, which is something many people often forget to use or don't even think about, for instance. But personally, I think it's an essential piece. Every woman should have primer in their makeup bag.
Wow, I definitely don't have it, so I'm very intrigued to know about it.
yeah.
Is it a bit like foundation?
Well, it's not a foundation. If you think of it as creating the perfect canvas, laying the perfect canvas just before you put your makeup on, and it goes on. So you go through the routine. So you do your cleansing and moisturising and toning, obviously before. Then the primer goes on.
Okay.
There's two different types of primer. You've got a satin primer and a matte primer. Jenna told me that her skin was particularly dry.
Hi Jenna, sorry to say hello to you. How are you?
It's good. So I actually applied satin primer, which hydrates the skin.
So is it already on there?
It's already on there, and you can see that her skin looks really clear.
It's glowy.
Yeah, exactly. It does do that. Other benefits as well. It's just got so many benefits. I can't rave about it enough.
Hold on, but can I ask, what's the difference between the two?
Well,
satin and matte.
Satin and matte. I mean, if you've got particularly oily skin, it's another thing that primer's good for. It actually stops the oil showing, so it's sort of like it sort of mattifies the skin.
Okay.
Simply that. And then with satin, if you've got dry areas, it literally just smooths out the skin's texture, and overall it actually creates a better effect. So once your makeup's on, it looks a lot better, and it increases durability, so it will last hopefully for the whole day, because we all get to that point at lunchtime where we look in the mirror and we're like, oh my god, did I actually put any makeup on this morning? But so it's good for durability.
Can I ask, do people just put primer on and just leave it like that, like for the natural? Because her skin is really glowing, it's very, very beautiful. Or do you have to then start applying the makeup?
It depends. I mean, everyone's got different sort of skin. Another thing about primer, if you do have particularly bad skin, say like suffering from redness or acne, it actually smooths it and reduces that appearance. I didn't actually apply a lot, because obviously she's got beautiful skin, we can see that already. But it sort of reduced the pores. It's just got so many advantages.
Can I ask, what is it like a liquid? Is it a powder? What exactly is primer?
It's a liquid.
Okay.
The satin one's slightly more smooth, and then the mattifying one's obviously a little bit, the pigment and the sort of texture of it's a little bit more, sort of gel-like. But everyone needs to buy primer, basically.
Good plug.
Yeah.
So what else?
Colour theory. I've got my chart here. It's a very simple chart,
nice.
But basically a lot of my clients always ask me, how can I make the most of my eyes and make them really sparkle and stand out? And I use the colour wheel. So, for instance, I was really lucky today because Jenny actually wore our orange top. But if we're talking about how to make her eyes stand out, it's got to be the complementary colours, which are polar opposite on the colour wheel. And so you can see she's got blue eyes, so the opposite's orange, and that's really going to make her eyes pop. If you really wanted to, So I'm going to...
Could you do that in a moment?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I've completely forgotten about you standing there in the sun. Forgive me, tell us, who are you first of all, and what are you here to do today?
My name is Edita. I came here to show you a little bit of some bits and bobs about hair. How to style.
So
I think, like same as the makeup, most of the ladies using the makeup and wearing makeup in a daily basis. Same is with the hair. So obviously, the one thing what you show is your face and the hair. So it's a quite important thing to have a nice style. So I'm going to do some bits and bobs.
Oh, fabulous. So she's going to compliment your makeup. All right, so let's start back with you.
Okay. So as we were saying, I'm going to go for an orange tone on Virginia's eyes.
Okay.
So that you can really see the difference once you start applying it. Most of the time, or what I was taught, was to always use 3 colours. So first of all, start with a lighter colour. So I'm just going to brush this over the eye. Just close your eye for me. And what it is, it's just sort of, it's more of a base colour.
Okay.
So, you know, we'll start it off like that. Won't be too long.
So you always start with the lighter colour first?
Yes,
Okay.
lighter colour
Fabulous
first.
tip.
If you want, you can take it all the way up to the brow line. It's totally up to you.
Okay, I've seen that before.
Yeah, it's just sort of like keeps it put. It keeps it put.
Nice.
So there we go. And then after that, we go for a mid-tone.
So in between colour.
Yeah,
Okay,
so I've got
lovely.
2 orange shades here.
Yes.
Obviously, you want to make the most of those blue
Okay,
eyes.
nice.
So I'm going to apply the mid-tone. And what I like to do is just start at the base and just press it on slightly. Just makes it stick better as well. So I'm just going to bring that up and just buff it up. Sorry.
Oh, nice, lovely.
Yeah. So I'm not going to take it too far out. Sorry, I might just wipe your in a bit. And then on the other side.
So is the general tip always to kind of match your clothing?
Yeah, I just think, you know, everyone wants to match. It's just, just being, everything's got, I like to match things up. Like, it depends how wacky you want to go, really.
Okay, cool.
So I'm just going to blend that out. Take that away there. And the last thing I'm going to do is use a darker colour, which is a contouring colour. So it's more to sort of like shade into the crease, and it sort of makes your eyes look bigger.
Let's see.
So a darker colour. So just close your eye for me. Open them.
Ah, and then you start it from, I've noticed that you've started that colour differently.
Yeah, so it's just literally going backwards and forwards.
Oh, fab.
And then just bringing it out and winging it out. And because if Jenny's got actually the same eyes as me, we've both got hooded eyes and we haven't got a lot of lid.
Yes.
So we need to elongate and bring it out to make
pushing it out on the side.
Pushing it out, but not too far up. So yeah, so I could continue with the other eye as well.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, it's good. It matches your top, doesn't it? So
That has really made her eye stand out. I mean, I never do this. I just get one colour and smack it on, and that's the end of it, really. But I can see the benefits of doing 3.
yeah,
Oh, lovely.
it does really
Beautiful.
work. So if you ever, you know, need to consult anything, the colour wheel.
Colour wheel, lovely. So how can we get a hold of this colour wheel? Because it's the first time I've ever seen it.
Well, you can literally go onto Google and get a picture of it, print it off, or you can buy it from any good art shop. And then, I mean, the colours here as well, these are called analogous colours, and they sort of complement each other, so they blend well together, so you know which ones to go for. So if you want to go for 3, it would just...
So you just go literally the opposite?
Yeah, so if you want to go for a more subtle look, not as like, you know, bold, then you can do that.
Very nice, lovely, it's looking fabulous.
Yeah, so just blend it out a bit more.
Gorgeous. Ooh. So,
Very interesting.
okay, so fabulous. So Edita, so tell me, how are you going to complement this very bold look? What are you going to do with the hair?
I was actually thinking, as Eugenia has got a straight hair,
Yes.
to make it a little bit more fuller and more summery.
Okay.
Let's say. I've got a straight hair, which I'm actually going to put it on.
Lovely. Let's have a look.
Right now. So what I'm going to do put it on. We're going to have to wait a few minutes.
Okay.
Okay, let me just move around.
Can I do Lord? Thank you very much.
Okay, just get out of the way.
Looking lovely.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
Right, so like I said, we're going to wait a few minutes. What I'm going to do, I'm going to spray all the hair with a protector.
Yes.
So what you need to remember, straightening is not the best idea of using on a hair, especially every single day.
Okay.
So I would suggest use definitely every single time a protector.
Okay,
that
lovely.
will definitely help. So what I'm going to do, just do a little bit of some power shots. And I'm really sorry, I know it's cold.
So you just spray it. I mean, is there a way to spray it from top to bottom in the story?
Absolutely, definitely. What I do, why I'm pinning it up, is just when you're spraying on the top is protected and nothing underneath. That's why it's the idea of
potting it and
absolutely
getting it spread through. Okay.
So what I'm doing now, again, same situation and same movement, but now we're going to use a straightener. I'm going to show you really quick
Fabulous.
movement with the straightener. Straightener is ready. What you're going to do, take from the top, twist it, and take it all the way down. Few minutes. You have to be careful as well with the fingers.
Yeah,
Don't burn
I must
yourself.
say, when I use straightening, I never quite know how long to keep it.
It's basically a few minutes. As you can see,
Oh, that's lovely.
beautiful, beautiful curls. So that's going to take a moment.
Gosh, do you really feel the difference? It's definitely got instant bounce there.
Absolutely. And then you can just leave it the way how it is. So quite every single one you can see, or you can brush it, and it's going to be much more softer at the same time. So it depends where you're going, what is your outfit.
Yes. So you could use this for an everyday look.
Absolutely.
Or you can, is it more tighter curls to give a more sophisticated look?
Definitely more tighter. Or like I said, you can just brush it through and it's just more softer. You can go on the beach and on holiday.
So, you know, with this curling look, say she wants to keep it all the time, straightening, what would you say is the maximum amount of time she should use the straightener? For the week, for example?
I will say, depends, I guess, where you are and what you do, but ideally is twice a week. That's the most.
Okay, not more than that.
But even that, like I said before, every single time use a protector.
Make sure.
Yes, definitely. And also, it's not just a protector before heat. You have to use a really good conditioner as well. Absolutely. So that's gonna help for the condition of your hair.
Lovely. So, because we're running out of time, I wish I could stay here to watch the whole thing. Can you just show us quickly what you can actually do with the full look of the hair?
So what I would say, you can put it up as well.
Yes.
So I was thinking actually when you even brush it through that.
Yeah, let's have a look.
With the flat brush.
Oh, nice.
So you can see it's got really nice. It's not really tight curls, but it's really nice and stuff. If you will have a
very soft, elegant look.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very nice. Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you so much,
Laura. That's beautiful. That's how to have a makeover in 10 minutes. Love it. Very, very nice. Now back to the serious stuff. Please stay with us because after we're going to be joined with Sammie and MJ talking about closure. Welcome back, and on today's show, that's right, we'll be discussing closure. And I'm joined in the studio with the ladies in black. It's co-presenter Mary Jo.
Hello.
Welcome, darling.
Hello.
And Sammie Baker. We're very happy to have you back,
Hello.
life coach extraordinaire.
It's lovely to be back. Thank you. For
Fabulous to
asking
have
me.
you. So before we start going into the deep stuff and peeling away why do we need closure or why we don't, I want to find out from you guys if you've ever had situations in your life where you felt like you needed closure.
Oh yeah. I mean, you could take it from anything from, you've had to leave, say that you've been made redundant, let's say, for example.
Yes.
So jobs come to an end when you weren't expecting it to, right up into, relationships breaking down or bereavement, that I think everybody has some sort of situation where closure is necessary. I mean, but closure is quite, I think sometimes why people tend to back away from it is it's quite an Americanism.
It does sound quite American, doesn't
and
it?
it means different things to different people, doesn't it? So.
But what about you? I want to know about you.
Me?
Yes, give me an example of something that's happened in your life, because you know that we're very interested here.
Oh, crikey.
And everyone wants to know.
There's always just so many. It's like, which
Just
one of the
choose
stories?
one.
I think probably when I got divorced, that took a long time, a really long time, to get to a place of acceptance. And somebody mentioned something very interesting to me, and it really struck a chord, in that it generally takes you about half the amount of time that you've been with somebody to get over them.
Wow.
To finally
oh my
wake up
gosh.
that day and go, oh, I'm all right. I feel a little bit better. And somebody said that to me about 2 years after my divorce, when it was still quite,
Fresh.
preying on my mind. I wasn't crying into my pillow every night, but it was still quite raw. And it was almost as though once they told me that kind of gave me a little bit of time to think, oh, well, actually, it's all right. I don't have to beat myself up about it. I can do this in my own time. And it was probably about 6 years after my divorce that I finally went, oh, I'm done now.
Wow.
I'm sorted. And it really has, and it's being compartmentalised, and it's filed, and it's fine. So I think a lot of the time the problem, and I don't know what you both think about this, but a lot of the time it's that we feel rushed, that we feel hurried, that there's an acceptable amount of time to get to a certain stage.
To deal with your emotions, isn't it? Yeah, I agree with
MJ,
that.
do you feel that piece of advice would help you in any situation in your life? For example, if you were married 20 years now, so for example, effectively, that piece of advice means you would only get over your husband if he left you 10 years later.
Imagine. So it's better for him not to leave me, because I don't want to deal with that. I do agree with Sammie when she says that, sometimes people push you to make decisions and to worry with your feelings and with your emotions, but I think each person is each person, and each one of us deals with situations differently. So because you deal with something in a certain way doesn't mean that I'm going to deal with it the same way. So I think each one of us have to have our own time and space to deal with whatever closure we need to deal with.
Give us a lifestyle example of your case, Mary Jo. You're not going to get away with it.
I've spoken about this before. I just speak about it because it was something recent. Of course, when I was growing up, there was breakups. There was all these kind of things that, I dealt with it as a teenager, and I've dealt with it as a young woman, and each time was just different because you are different as a person as well. You mature, you have other experience, so that makes you a different person. But something that happened like 5-6 years ago, when my husband has decided to completely change the way we were living before, his work, everything. So the way we were living before was completely different from the way we were living after he made that decision. So to live 15, 16 years of a way of life to completely change to another way of life, it was hard to, I don't know if I'm making myself clear, but it was hard to forget and adapt those 15 years, 16 years.
So as you sit here with us now, would you say, look, no, I have I can say that this is compartmentalised, you're saying? I like that word. And put away, and I have got closure now.
I think now, finally, after 5 years, I have finally have closure, yes.
Okay, so we're going to pick at that because we've got some steps to closure.
So let's go.
That I'm going to be discussing with you. And Sammie, I'm looking forward to hearing your feedback on it. And don't worry, ladies, you don't have to agree on everything. It's fine, okay? So, number 1, define your loose ends. So what is it that lingers in you that prevents you from moving on? What residual emotions are still tying you to the person? Usually it's some form of anger or guilt, like for example in your case, or anger that how the person did this to you and the feelings that go with that. So do you think that it's really important for you to define your loose ends in order for you to have some closure?
Oh, that's a difficult one. If you can, I mean, it's very easy to say, pinpoint exactly where you think everything went wrong.
Yes.
And then attach that to the appropriate person so that you can then, detach yourself from it, and then you can have closure on that, and then you can move on. When you're either going through a divorce or a bereavement or a complete lifestyle change, or you've moved countries, or anything, whatever it might be, or you've been made redundant or something, you're generally in a bit of a tiz. You're sometimes in the middle of a trauma. So
it's a shock of it all, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So to try and pinpoint where things fit is quite a tricky one. Sometimes it's easier to find where you don't fit rather than where other things fit within your life. It's identifying where you don't fit or where you don't feel comfortable can help you to start to identify who you are becoming.
Well, that's quite strong. But for example, if I take your situation, because I also went through a divorce, and the point of defining where it went wrong, not per se as to where it went wrong, but more of why am I so angry that he's left me? Why am I so angry? Of course, you thought it was going to last for life. You don't get married so that you can have, but why exactly has he decided to leave me? What was the reason? I think defining that helped me to find closure, because it made me realise that actually that is what he wanted in me, but that's not what I wanted in myself. So ciao to you, but I'm doing me now, so I can move on. Do you see what I mean? Did you at any point feel that you did the same?
Oh yeah, I'm not recognisable as the same person in any way, shape or form. Not at all. It's part of the reason why I do what I do.
Yes.
Interestingly enough. So that's something to be thankful for. And I think part of it was, for me, to give me closure or to be able to wrap it all up, was when I started to see my new life becoming something that I felt really happy with, that I really felt that I could identify with, because everything that I had identified with was wrapped up in my past. So it's as you start to allow things in to replace what you did have, is where you start to be happy to shut the door on what you did have in the past.
All right, I want to go to the next one, which I always find interesting because it's always a bit of a controversial topic here, and it's about forgiveness. Number 2, your favourite, forgiveness. The fastest way to free yourself from any enemy and associated negativity is to forgive. Now, why is that so hard? Why is that so? If it's so, it's one of the points that we need to number 2 in having conclusions, in having closure. Why is forgiveness so difficult?
Well, I don't know what you think, Sammie. For me, when you need closure, you are dealing with feelings. You're sad, you feel betrayed, it's a mix of feelings. And I think where forgiveness is hard is because most of the times people think that forgiveness is a feeling as well. But in my point of view, forgiveness is something that I was reading. Forgiveness is not a feeling. Forgiveness is a decision. And to make that decision, that's the hard part. To forgive, forget what that person or what that situation has made you feel. Because everything that went through is feelings and feelings and feelings. But to forgive is a decision you have to make. It's not a feeling, it's a decision. And that decision, I think that's what it is, hard, but it's the most important. And I think when you forgive, you actually, it's easy for you to get closure and to close that chapter in your life. I don't know what you think,
Why is
Sammie.
it your favourite, Sammie?
It's my favourite because, for lots of different reasons. This is going to sound really cheesy, but you know, when you allow yourself to forgive, you allow yourself to be free. You allow yourself not to be tethered by anything. And I think a lot of the time people are confused by forgiveness because they think that is letting the other person off the hook.
Well, that's it.
However, I think when we can get to the point where we realise that maybe that person's done something really horrible to you, or maybe they've lied to you, or that you feel let down by them, they're never going to see it from your point of view. Invariably, even if you do get an apology, it's not going to be heartfelt. It's not going to be without some sort of deal attached to it, you know. And a lot of the time, you just won't get one at all.
Yes.
And you could make yourself very, very bitter while you hang around and wait for something that you're probably never going to get. And all that time, what you're doing is you're giving your power, your energy, all your enthusiasm to that person, to that situation. Exactly. So when you say, I forgive this person, or I forgive this situation, or I let this situation go, what you're doing is you're sort of ranking up your power level, if you like.
Oh, I like
and
that.
when you can see it from that point of view, you're actually doing it not for selfish reasons, but for self-full reasons.
Oh, I
so
love
you're doing it for yourself.
Yes.
In order to benefit those that are around you, rather than the fact that you're maybe giving that person or that situation carte blanche to treat you badly. It's not about that, because also the offshot of all of that...
Hold that thought, Sammie, because I feel that you're going very deep here, but we need to go to a break shortly. Look, this topic is very, very, very deep. And like Sammie said, that who doesn't need to have closure at some point in life? So please stay tuned. We're going to be going through more steps, touching more about this forgiveness and other things. So please stay tuned. Welcome back, and on today's show we are discussing the topic of closure. As I said before, we've got the ladies in black with the red shoes, I must say, looking fabulous. I just love those shoes. You've got to show those shoes, Sammie. They're fab, absolutely fantastic. But yeah, this is a very, very deep topic because it's relevant. It's so relevant for everyone, not just women. But, you know, I can identify with everything you guys are saying so far, and you're lucky that I'm agreeing with you so far. We were talking about forgiveness before the break, and now we want to go into the next step, which is to apologise. How important is us apologising important for our closure? And many people will disagree. Like, why should I apologise if I'm the victim? But what do you have to say with that, Sammie?
Okay, I have a theory. It's something that I work with really strongly for victims of. I say victims. I hate that word, but for people that have lived through a form of abuse, which is freedom through responsibility.
Freedom through responsibility. Love it.
So it doesn't matter what the situation is. All right. Even if, and I'm going to be a little bit controversial
Go ahead.
now, but even if you're in a situation where you're being abused, where you're being beaten up, where you're being victimised in some form, you have a certain sense of responsibility to yourself.
Yes.
Okay. Now there are lots of different reasons why people stay in situations, and I'm not going down there.
Yes.
But in any situation, we have responsibility to ourselves, and maybe for like our children, for example, to see which part we're playing. So, are we permitting a behaviour, that sort of thing? And once we take that responsibility, then we get the freedom to be able to make other decisions for ourselves. And part of that process is apologising, even if it is something like, you know, look, I'm sorry I let this situation go on too long. I'm sorry, I should have done something about this.
So would you say that, because for example, a victim, okay, not a victim, but someone passing through a situation of abuse, it's not so much you apologising to the person that's done this to you, it's an apology to yourself. That, you know, I can't believe I want to say sorry for doing this to myself. Gosh, that's very eye-opening.
And it allows you to be really free. I can't iterate that enough. That it's not about, because especially when we're in quite traumatic situations, it's all about, they're quite dramatic as well, and it's all about he said or she said or they've done this or they've done that. When you take yourself out of it, see which part you're playing, apologise to yourself, allow that sense of freedom to come in. And don't let any judgment come in on this at all. Your sense of closure, your sense of being able to see what part it's played in your life, take it with you and move on to the next thing. You know, it makes you boundless, it makes you limitless.
I think as well, when you apologize, I like that sense of apologizing to yourself, because the moment you apologize to yourself, you are getting your value back. Because in a way, your value has been lost. As a woman, as a human being, but the moment you apologize to yourself and say, no, this is enough, this is not going to happen again, I'm not going to allow it to happen again, then it's like, I'm valuable again. And, you know.
I like that. Because to be honest with you, when it comes to apologising, you feel like, I'm not going to apologise. There's a sense of pride that comes over you. Why should I apologise for this situation? It's not my... It's like you almost take responsibility or ownership of the situation going wrong. Like, if I apologise, it's because it's my fault. I think that's what most people think. But I love this, what you've said, and I think that I'm really going to keep this. Apologise to yourself. It's almost like forgiving yourself, isn't it? So you're able to take yourself out of the situation. Really, really love that.
And also... the other thing that's quite a nice thing to be able to remember as well is that, another little theory that I've got, is that there's no such thing as a wrong decision. It's all just practice. So if you're doing something and it doesn't go how you anticipated, so it's served its purpose in your life, don't beat yourself up about it. Don't give yourself a hard time. Go, oh, okay, right, let's not do that again. Sorry, that didn't go quite how I had planned. Now let's go on to the next thing.
You know, everything you're saying is so positive, and I'm to be honest with you, I'm only taking you on because I know everything you've been through, and I know that you've lived it, so you can speak about it. Because I know that you've had so many traumas in your life, and you are here, you know, turning around as a life coach, helping others, being very positive. And I think a lot of what you're saying is about having that positive mental attitude. It all begins here, isn't it?
But as well, as you said before, it's because of all that experience that you went through that made you take the decision of being a therapist and a life coach and being the person that you are today. So in a way, all of that has
enriched you.
Exactly.
It's an absolute gift.
Yeah.
And I think if you can look at things like that, even when they're not necessarily how society would maybe class it a gift, if you can look at it like that, then you know, you can't change the experience, but you can change your perception of that experience.
Lovely.
Once someone told me something that I never forget, and sometimes it's hard.
Yeah, it's not easy.
It's not easy. But I never forget, she said to me once, look, of all bad situations that come into your life, always take the positive and always see the positive in that situation, because there is always a positive. If we concentrate in the positive, we forget the negative. So I think it's difficult, but it's very important.
You know, just moving on to the next point, because I know Sammie's very famous for this, actually. The next point is have a symbolic ceremony. Now, I'm not going to talk about this. I'm going to let you talk about this. What does this mean?
Okay.
Why is it so important for closure?
It's so important for closure. So, for example, a really nice thing to do if you've got a bereavement is, I think we might have touched on this last time I was here, is have something that you can focus on that can grow, like a tree or a plant, or get yourself an animal, you know, have something to focus on that's growing and developing. But also, you know, in situations like funerals, we were talking earlier, weren't we, before we came on? So one of the things that I do for sort of humanist celebrations for funerals is that I'll officiate it for them, so speak on the behalf of the family and do all the things that a priest would do, but I'm not a priest. And it was amazing. I went to one this week, and the family was so keen to celebrate the life of this quite remarkable man. They all got up, they were all dancing. The man's 82-year-old mum was up dancing, and there was a massive round of applause for the end
amazing.
of it. And it's not that they weren't sad, it's not that, you know, him passing wasn't awful, because it was, bless him. But their perception of it was, let's celebrate the life rather than mourn the death. And I think if we can take that, and like you said before, it's not easy, but if we can take a little bit of that to situations that aren't maybe necessarily how we anticipated them being, then it really does allow that sense of closure, that situation actually is now complete. The whole thing is complete as an experience in your life.
But sorry, just one question. Because, for example, I understand when, you know, someone dies, you have the time to deal with it. But, for example, what Shireen spoke in the beginning, what happened, the Malaysian flight, that it just disappeared. No one knows what happens. If I was the family of someone that was in that plane, I would be one of those people that wanted to know what happened. Why? Where are they? You know, because I think knowing, for me at least, knowing why and what happened is a way of closure as well, or to help in the closure process. So for someone that is in a situation like that, what would you think would be the best way to deal with closure? Because it is a difficult situation.
It is, but I suppose, I mean, it's just awful. You can't imagine, can you? And I would be the same. I would be tormented. I'd be nagging everybody. So I'm with you 100%. But I think in that sort of situation, as with any, you know, if somebody's murdered and they go missing, for example, or somebody just walks out the front door and they don't come back, and you want those answers. It is that, because the brain's really clever, it is that it starts to get used to the situation. So while there might not be a blueprint for how you deal with that situation, or while it might not be widely recognised, your own emotions, your own mental state, your own way of dealing with things will create its own coping mechanism. So all the things that we've been talking about, forgiveness, acceptance, all that sort of thing, apologising, they will still stand. So you will eventually still get to a point where you've completed it off, where you've got that closure. The fact that it might not be exactly how you want it to be, it will be its own form of it, because, you know, how can you you know, it's unmatchable really with everything that's happening.
I think that we are never going to stop asking questions. I think there is that time. I think in the very beginning when things happen, your natural instinct is to ask why. What did I do? How could this happen? Or with the Malaysian, why my family? Why us? Like how? But it's true that there does get to a point where you've got to then, I love what you were saying about taking responsibility for how you're going to deal with it. So in talking to you now and talking to you, MJ, I've come to understand that closure, a lot of it is not to do with the circumstance itself, because that you can't change, right? It's more to do with how you decide to close the situation in your life. And this finding a symbolic ceremony, for example, I would like to know from you, you know, answering to her question, how would you advise someone in a situation like this, a family member's been lost, doesn't have to be this Malaysian, but, you know, a sudden tragedies happen, how would they apply this to their lives? I work with people whose family have been touched by suicide. Now that's shock. And sometimes there are lots of other people that are affected if it's done publicly. But, you know, suicide comes as a massive shock to a family and to people. And while, again, there's those set processes that you go through, some of them are really amplified, and anger is the one that is amplified the most. And what I tend to encourage people to do is to be angry, because angry is a really good thing, because eventually you get bored of it. You get bored of the anger. But there's very practical things you can do. You can keep a journal, and the really good thing about that is that
if you look back 3-4 weeks later, even 3 or 4 days later, you can see how far you've come.
Yes.
You think you're not making any steps at all, but slowly you're transforming into somebody that's starting to accept the situation, for example. You know, the having something to look after and nurture is way down the line in a situation like that.
Yes.
But also talking, keeping that person alive.
Yes.
And even if, especially in the case of suicide, if you're angry with that person because of what they've done and you've got your own issues around it, you're allowed to say. That doesn't mean you don't love them as much.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's talking and actually keeping that person not alive but remembered.
Oh, I absolutely love it. Oh, Sammie, thank you so much for coming on our show. You must come back again.
I will, I promise.
Every month you've got to be with us. I really, really enjoyed speaking to you. You know, at the end of the day, if you would like to also talk, like to say to you or to any of the DKW ladies, visit our site at dkw.me. Sammie's information's on there. That's absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for coming, Sammie.
Thank you.
Now stick with us, because after the break we're going to be going to Sandra with our news pieces, and I'm telling you, you're going to want to know, have closure when you hear what she's got to say. Stick with us. Welcome back to DKW, and we've had a fantastic show about closure. And I'm going to hand you over to our lovely news presenter, Sandra.
Hello, good to be here with you, ladies.
You too, my love.
I have a few news to share with you all today. The first news is that gone are the days of giving someone the courtesy of a face-to-face chat. Most breakups are now done via text messages or social
No, you're
media.
joking me.
Oh,
That's
I'm
such
not
a
joking.
cop-out.
I'm telling
That
you.
would not work for me.
No, definitely wouldn't work for me at all.
I'm telling you. Most young adults now choose to end their relationships via text, followed closely by social media like Facebook, Twitter, whatever. They choose to do it by email. And many said they chose technology as it makes the process less awkward.
Well, of course it does. It means you just have to face the person.
Well.
I'm telling you, that is lack of courage. What's that word? So when you don't have courage, you're coward. That's the one. I'm looking for. It's coward.
So
Cowardice.
basically, a survey was conducted amongst men and women between the ages of 18 to 30, and it revealed that 56% of relationships ended via text, social media, or email.
Sorry, those were not real relationships, I have to say.
However,
there's no respect.
However, 73% said they would be annoyed if they were dumped that way. So,
Well, of course. I bet most of those were women.
well, yeah, I would think so too. I hope so. So the men and women surveyed had all gone through a breakup in the past 12 months. So the people that were surveyed.
That's why.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Still
Isn't
hurting.
it?
So, no closure there.
Also, these are the top ways people have ended their relationships in the last 12 months. The first one is text message with 25%.
Oh my gosh.
Second is social media with 20%.
Wow. On Facebook, messenger,
And the
Facebook
third
message.
one,
Instagram.
We are over.
you put a picture, we're over.
Like,
Picture cut.
press like. Do you agree?
The third form is face-to-face with 18%.
Wow.
Wow.
The fourth one is the phone call with 15%. And the last one is by email with 11%. What's your say on this?
We said it already.
Yeah, we said it.
We had said
This is
that would not work
revolting.
for us.
No, it wouldn't work for us
Those
at all.
are not true relationships.
No, I
the
promise you,
modern day
MJ, do you know what I
thing.
would
No,
do?
no, no,
I
no,
promise
no,
you, if
there's
this
no
was
respect.
me, no respect. If it wasn't on Facebook, for example, or Instagram, if it was a text message, I would just pretend I never saw it and then continue as normal. And I would drag it out until I think of my revenge plan. Or if I done it by text, I will put it on Facebook first. We are over.
Exactly.
Good one. Good
I'm
thinking.
telling
good
you.
Oh, it's
thinking.
the good old-fashioned way of, sitting face-to-face. It's gone. It's gone.
this is
This is the new
disrespectful.
way
No, know what it is? People don't want to deal with the emotions of the other person.
Yeah.
That's the problem, you know.
It's less awkward for them.
Yeah.
How the person reacts, how the person is. They just can't deal with it.
But I just feel that it just shows the standard that we're having with people now, because, you know, behind this, I know we're laughing about it, but the truth of the matter, it's not funny. It's a lack of quality. You know, what kind of person does that? To dump you by text message. It's just like, I just would feel like, do you know what? I was with a complete stranger all this time. I thought you was something else.
No, I like to know why. I like to know all the reasons. And you don't want to know the reasons by text message. I'm sorry.
And then you can't have closure because you're there just so shocked that you could be dumped by Facebook, or your friends would find out before you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Sometimes it's that way as well.
Move on. Let's move on.
Let's move on to other news. A new study from a University of Colorado, Denver, attempts to uncover what types of people are most likely to unfriend. You know, on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Unfriend you on Facebook. Not interested in being your friend anymore. Click unfriend. For the study entitled Unfriending on Facebook and Unfriending Behaviour, 1,077 users on Twitter were polled by the university based on how they answered the survey. And these are the top 5 types of people, or the respondents, of how they thought about it. So people that actually did these unfriending. High school friends, other people, friend of a friend, work friend, common interest friend. So basically, according to Facebook Fallout, the emotional response to being unfriended on Facebook were most likely to feel surprised, or followed by bothered, or amused, and lastly, sad.
No, I must say, that's why I'm very careful who I actually accept as my friend first, because then if I start seeing you post something crazy, I will be unfriending you. But I do think, you know, it must be a horrible thing, because it's happened to me before. I thought, I was this person's friend, and for some reason, I'm just not their friend today. What's happened?
I know, it actually happened to me last month. I saw a picture on someone else's Facebook and said, oh, so lovely. Let me go and comment or like on my own so that she can see that I
I've
saw
liked it.
So I went on my Facebook. This person, he says, add as friend. Oh, I thought we were
But then
friends.
again, Sandra, you have just recently, wasn't it on Facebook that you have had a new page or something like
Yes.
that?
Yeah,
So maybe
I'm
that's why
confused
you
about
forgot
that.
to add
No,
all the old friends.
It's just so positive, MJ.
I did add them as a friend. They were one of the first people I added when I created my new account.
I tell you, you just got to let it go. You can't let it get to you.
I just let it go in the end, really.
Friends.
Yes.
If I do, maybe they weren't really friends.
Yeah.
Maybe someone you just know.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes when they post certain things that it's just completely
Against what you believe in,
what I believe in. Then yes, I would.
And then there's those that add you just because they've seen you, and then when they actually see you face to face, they say nothing, and they walk past you and think, well, so why did you add me on Facebook? I'm just going to unfriend you. And then they feel upset about it. Well, you don't say anything to me when you see me.
Well, Sandra, I would love to continue with more news, but I've got a little announcement to make before we close the show, and it's that we are unfriending MJ. Well, she's unfriending us. MJ. This is very much closure for you because MJ is leaving us. It's her last show today, and DKW will miss you dearly. We've loved having you with us.
Let's stop here now.
Tell the world, why are you leaving us?
Do tell.
Things happen in your life that you just have to move on. You know, but DKW will always be in my heart. You guys are my true friends, and I will never forget these times. And I'm really happy that, you know, I'm leaving DKW when DKW is
on
up
high.
and not
Tell us, what
high.
have been your favourite moments, MJ?
Oh, there've been so many. I've loved, you know, all the times we have shared together. I love the guests. I love our lovely producer Simone. I love her to bits. And you know, I love being here with the crew, and everybody's so different, you know. And I think even if the show says different kind of woman, even if there are men involved as well, we are all so different. And I think that's nice to see, you know, how so many different people, all different, can make something nice work, you know, and be a success. And this is what I wish for DKW all the way. Success.
Thank you so much. Any last words for our fellow co-host Sandra to wish her on her journey?
We love you, MJ. You've been so fab. I love being behind the scene, watching you, sitting with you on the couch.
I know.
Laughter, giggles. Oh, you're the best.
Yes.
Don't tell Shireen.
No.
So I accept. Once again, we want to thank MJ for being with us and our special guest, Sammie, our makeup artist and the hairstylist, and of course, Simone. And as we bring closure to this show, let's have a reflect about what we've learned today. A lot of the tips that you've heard and what we're going to be displaying on our site at dkw.me, it is really down to us to decide what is closure for us, because closure is individual. What may be closure for me may not be closure for the next person, as MJ rightly said. But getting help, speaking through it, is how you can define where your closure is. And at DKW.me, we're not just a TV program, we are really here to help. We're ladies that go through similar things like you, and we love speaking to you, and we hope you like listening to us. If you'd like to contact us, feel free to do so at comments@dkw.me, and we'll be happy to get in contact with you. So let's bring this show to a close, and remember, it's your responsibility. You have one life to live. Make the very most of it. Don't spend time on things that you can't change. Think positive, think about the things you can change, and leave it there. Move on, start a new chapter as MJ's doing. Thank you, we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.